Sweet.
I get all the fucking frames on this server now.
All the frames.
Yeah, I got like 60 of them. 60 of those bad boys.
Nice. You don't need more than that.
No, as fast as my monitor goes.
Anything more than 60 frames and it's pretty much wasted. Like I mean, you could probably tell the difference if you had the difference between like 144 as opposed to 60, but the difference between 60, 70, 80 frames per second, you're just not going to notice. It's like you get very diminishing returns above 60 FPS.
I don't know, I'm very, very happy if I get 60. I've never been a high-end equipment afforder, so you know I'm used to something around 35, 40. So what's this guy with the camo netting? That's quite fancy looking.
Oh, the armored vehicle.
Hmm.
It is a Namira. It's so on the liberation campaigns, it technically acts as a ammo and repair and I think fuel. I'm not sure.
We've cut off.
Yeah, it's sort of all three rolled into one, but the downside is it's slow as a dog. And there is the temptation to use it as a combat vehicle as well, but the machine gun is purely for self-defense. There's no use taking it into an actual combat scenario. It's just so slow.
You know, I did try using those new mod trucks on that test one you sent me. I was very disappointed that I couldn't use the crane. Some of them have cranes on the back.
Yeah, you can.
Oh, I couldn't figure it out.
No, we'll go through that at some point. Yeah, so yeah, on 3CB, obviously you don't get the same thing here with Cup, but with 3CB you can actually take the container and drop it on the floor and pick it back up again. So it's the same as either the drops or the EPLS. If you're familiar with those vehicles, where I think drops was the old version, the old Leyland version. They were good fun actually, but they dismountable rack offload system. Wrong, the dismountable rack offload pallet system. I think it was. I don't know what EPLS stands for, but it's basically just the modern MAN version of what the drops was. But essentially, you got a flat rack, and at the front of the flat rack is a metal hook, and the hook on the truck, sort of the crane attachment, hooks onto that, so that you can offload the flat rack, or you can pick up the flat rack onto the back of the vehicle.
Nice. I didn't know MAN was still in business.
All of the army trucks are now MAN.
Quite nice.
Hello.
Hello.
Hopefully we're going to have a few more on. I can do this with 4 of you. I'd rather have more, but I will accept 4. Can't really do it with only 3 of you.
Yeah.
Some of the I can do some of it with only 3 of you, but 4 is kind of the minimum that I want from you guys.
Depends if also you want to defensive on the defense of the convoy or not.
Yeah, I mean ultimately the more people that are online, the more interactive and more fun I can make whatever scenarios I throw at you.
Oh no.
So don't worry, they're not going to be crazy.
Yeah, I'm seeing again one of my best operations, my old unit, where we have a convoy of 4-5 vehicles. Literally the front vehicle missed an explosive and gets the second vehicle. Was one of the trucks that we were supposed to take on the other side.
Yeah. Well, Red said he might be able to make it. Now I don't know. I'm assuming he meant I might be able to make it, but I'm going to be late. Inhuman's online, but not on Arma at the moment, so maybe he's just stepped AFK for a minute. I'm guessing Lena might join us. She's still in the chat. So if we do get all of those, we'll have 5, which is pretty good. Put it this way, if there's 4 of us, then realistically, yeah, there's a few ways we could do it with 4 of us. If we were going to have any force protection, we would only be able to have 1 combat vehicle and 2 trucks, because you'd have the driver and the gunner. and then 2 trucks with just the driver. If there's 5 of us, we could have 3 trucks and a force protection vehicle, so on and so forth. Or the alternative way, which actually, to be fair, we used to do in the logistics course sometimes, is use Land Rovers and pretend the Land Rovers are your force protection. So you pretend that the Land Rovers are actually combat vehicles, on the basis that they're obviously more agile and a bit quicker than the trucks, so they can get around to the different places they need to go. You just kind of run through the motions. So in theory, I could do it that way.
I was watching a video the other day. It was American, and it went through this from like the start of a operation, and I didn't get much further than that. But they did a warning order. Is that something that we do in British Armed Forces, or is maybe by a different name?
In what context?
So it was like there was a probably more than a section's worth of people, and the commanding officer like issued like there's a certain amount of things you should do a certain amount of time before a mission, like 24 hours before. You say, well, this is happening with this many people. We're going to do this, so that everyone was ready. It was a warning order.
Yeah,
and
I mean, for
included...
us, the warning order is a bit soft because it bases it on, okay, at 1900 Zulu, we're going to come online, and then at 1:15 we're going to have a briefing. But there are people that can't make it online at that time, so obviously we're
I meant in the actual British Armed Forces, because I was looking for...
We do have
like
similar
a
things.
template for our version, and I was wondering if I could mush some of that into...
We do have
use.
Yeah, so we do have similar things where you'll work backwards from the point of advance. So you might say, okay, so our time to attack is 1200 hours. At 1100 hours, this is happening. At 0900, this is happening. At 0700, that's happening, and so on and so forth. So you could do it that way. We work backwards up to a time, which actually is quite a common way of working something out, actually, because think about it logically. Like from you at home, if you were like, right, I need to get to the cinema for 1600 hours to see this film, so I know it's going to take 40 minutes to get there, plus I need a bit of time for parking, so let's allow an hour. So I need to leave the house at 1500 hours, and before that I need to have a shower and some food, so at 1400 hours I'm going to put something in the oven. So even in reality, on a day-to-day basis, you do it. You work backwards and give yourself almost like a mini warning order in your head. Or at least you should, otherwise you're going to be late for everything. And yeah, the military does do a similar sort of thing. But it's all to do with the military. It's obviously a grander scale, because you're looking at the point when you're ready to attack. You need all of your troops to be in the right positions, all on their form-up points and everything else, and ready to attack. And there's obviously a huge amount of stuff before that. You need to get them to those positions. There's all the logistics and everything before that as well. And you end up where your time to attack with, let's say, a platoon's strength of infantry might be 1400 hours, but it might take you 6 hours to get to the point where you're ready to attack. Because you're like, okay, so 1400 hours we're going to attack. So 0600 is first light. So that's when we're going to pack up our harbour area, go stand to, and then 0630 hours, assuming we don't get contact, we're then going to move out. It's going to take us 2 hours to hike from there to the next location. At that point, we're going to stop. We're going to do a map check and everything else, and then we've got like a supply dump somewhere that we're going to, whatever it is, link up with whatever units, so on and so forth. So before you know it, it's taken you the best part of 6 or 8 hours just to get your troops into a position where they're ready to then actually attack the enemy. And you work backwards from that timing.
Yeah, cool.
Sometimes it just depends on the scale, but yeah.
I was thinking if there was some parts of that organizational process that were defined. I appreciate that not everyone can get on at the right time and all that sort of stuff. Not for that end, but in terms of like preparing people for what's going to happen. Like it's sort of like how Crossroads have done a sign-up sheet. Like it allows people to go, all right, well, I'll be a DMR or whatever.
It's called shotgun on certain positions. That's
yeah. Other parts, like we're gonna go here. This is the rough thing. Like parts, I guess some of it's in the briefing, but I don't know. I was thinking about having better, or if we could pull some of that into something we could link into the event on Discord.
So there's a few different things there. So the thing where he puts the sign-up sheet, what he's essentially doing is ensuring everybody knows what their role is likely to be. People are basically saying, I want to be in that position when I log in tonight, and they're just basically calling shotgun on those positions. That probably, that's not really a warning order. That's kind of almost like a really small scale Orbat type. Not Orbat. That's the wrong word. It's just the composition of your section. That's all that is. I don't think there's a special word for it. It's just the makeup of your unit. But then you've also got things like your call sign matrix, which is which call sign is assigned to who. You've got your order of battle, your Orbat, which it's kind of exactly what it sounds like. In its most simplest form, your order of battle is exactly that. It's the order that things are going to happen in, who's moving when and where, according to the plan. You've also got your standard operating procedures, which can change from mission to mission. So your SOPs, if we're talking about convoy driving like we are tonight, our SOPs could be, right, so we're anticipating low numbers of potentially hostile troops. If we come under contact, this is what we're going to do. If you hit, if a vehicle hits a mine or an IED, this is what we're going to do, and so on and so forth. So those are your SOPs, your sort of what you do under certain situations that might be unique to that mission. SOPs kind of cross the bridge into things like your rules of engagement as well, because those can be mission specific or theatre specific. So you think about Iraq, we were fighting an organised military, so for the most part it was slightly more clear who we were fighting. But then you go to Afghanistan, and the only time you knew who were fighting was when they actually started shooting at you. There were even times where civilians would carry assault rifles, AK-47s and things like that. So you couldn't just be like, that person's armed, therefore they're Taliban. But then you also had the other side of it, where you knew in yourself that the person standing on the hill with a walkie-talkie in one hand and a pair of binoculars in the other was clearly dicking your position to the Taliban, but you couldn't do fuck all about it because your SOPs were you don't engage unarmed combatants. There's just so many things we just don't do in Arma because of the amount of time and effort and training it would take. You just can't, Look at formations.
Join the army.
Yeah, exactly. Look at your patrol formations. So we cover 4 patrol formations. There's like 20 formations that you could do, but we cover 4 of them because they're the most sort of commonly used, generic, easy to learn. And in a game, you don't really need more than that. And most of the time when you meet contact, your formation goes out the fucking window anyway.
Yeah, I guess I was thinking about taking some of the admin time when people log on to before that. I guess that's what I was hoping for.
You can try writing something up if you like. There's always that fine line. That's the thing. So everything is, what can we realistically expect from Arma 3, and B, what can we realistically expect people to be willing to learn? Like radio and comms is always a tough subject on that front, because people always go, oh, your radios and comms lessons, they're so long, and yet people fuck up radio checks. And I'm like, I don't know what you want from me. I give you training that goes in far excess of just radio checks on the basis that you get familiar with certain processes, not to the point where you can do the things like 9-liners and contact reports and stuff. I'm not expecting people to remember those things, but I make people practice them in phase 1 Bravo, just that they've got a little bit of a basic awareness of how voice procedure works. And then they 6 months later they fuck up a radio check, and I go, I don't know what you want from me. Yeah, and that's a really good example of like you try and make something kind of in-depth-ish, and it still kind of gets lost somewhere down the line. There was some talk of, I say talk, think of it, like when you hear rumours. So among the seniors, there's been the occasional sort of, mention, as it were, of maybe we should try and we should pick certain skills that the skill fade is real, and make people do them every year. And I was like, firstly, people aren't going to want to do them every year. Secondly, how do we administrate that? How do we keep track of, okay, and you could do it as a reset. So the army has an April to April training year. So once you get out, once you get to the end of April and the start of May, you're in a new training year, which means all of your military skills are now out of date. First aid, live firing, weapon handling, your fitness, etc. You've then got until the end of the following April to do them again. So we could do it that way. That's an easy way of resetting everybody's training. But if somebody doesn't do their, some of their refresher training until March, a month later, it's out of date again. So does that mean from the end of April until March, when they actually do it, they're not allowed to play with us? No, of course not. So you can't do it on Arma. It's a game. That's what it comes back to.
I think we're doing all right in filtering. We're starting to filter out the people who, like, we're gonna have three kinds of people: people who are engaged and invested, and they turn up and they do the things and they enjoy it, and then there's people who are kind of more or less completely silent, or maybe just chatty, but don't engage with anything apart from missions. And there's going to be people who kind of like fade out or come and go, and we're slowly building up the cadre of people who actually are engaged and turn up.
Yeah, I mean that's why we've got this sort of this admin platoon and section thing going. It's exactly for that reason, and it is, to that degree it is working. I do feel that maybe some people slack off it a little bit more than others in terms of NCOs and officers, but again, it's a game. There's only so much you can make people do. The only downside of that is, not downside. Quick sort of history lesson on that. We didn't originally set out with the intention of giving people training. It became a requirement when people kept fucking things up. So the Phase 1 Alpha training, that used to be the training. That used to be all of it. That was your Phase 1 training. And then what we started to realise was that's all good and well for teaching people basic stuff, but there's a lot of other things that people are just getting wrong, or people are asking questions about, and things like that we're constantly finding we're having to keep teaching people on the go. And so all of the Phase 1 Bravo training was born out of pure necessity, which on a slightly unironic twist has meant that the less Milsim-esque player base has kind of died out a bit, and we're left with the slightly more Milsim-esque players, which are the ones that you're talking about. What do you do? I mean, if we drop the training completely, we just end up with people who, no offense, but are shit. Their skills and drills are crap. They don't know how to communicate. They don't know how to work as a squad. They don't know how to get into a patrol formation, etc., etc., etc. But if you make some sort of semi-realistic training, you end up weeding out quite a lot of casual players. I don't know. There's no perfect answer.
It also stops people from playing Arma 3 like Call of Duty.
Yeah, I mean, that was just it. That was exactly the comparison we started to make, and we had to keep trying to say to people, look, this isn't Call of Duty. This is Arma 3. This is, you need to take that into account.
At the same time, by saying that, you're basically affirming that this group caters to Milsim-esque communities, Milsim-esque people, rather than arcadey Call of Duty players.
Yeah, I think
the whole game does, though. Like this, you can't. There's no part of this game, even the vanilla. There's no part of this game that you can play in the same way that you play Arma 3. It just doesn't lend itself. Play Call of Duty.
Well, I mean, basic vanilla Arma 3 plays a bit like Battlefield for certain.
Yeah, but even Battlefield's a different kettle of fish to COD. Battlefield's the thing I used to like about Battlefield was it was more realistic than Call of Duty. I mean, I've gone off it a bit now. It's gone a bit haywire, but yeah.
Have you tried Squad?
No, I'm strongly restricting my number of games. Crossroads actually sent me a thing earlier where there's a Warhammer 40,000 game, which the entire bundle is normally more than £90 and it's 90% off. And he said, "You like Warhammer, don't you?" And I went, "Fuck off." Stop trying to make me buy things.
But well, basically,
Also,
if you
Inhuman's
like...
hard drive has died.
Nice.
Oh, dear.
That's awesome. So the thing with Squad is that is more pick up and play compared to Arma, but still retains a lot of realism, kind of like Battlefield. So it's like an in-between, middle of the road between Battlefield and Arma, with the only downside being that it's only PvP, which is not a bad thing.
Yeah.
When you are 30 people, but the thing is you need to find the right server when you find people that actually collaborate on the chain of command, because when people collaborate on the chain of command, you have a blast. When people start playing everyone with themselves, or their coordination stops at squad level, so 5 people, 10 max, that's when things start to fall apart, because an entire side is doing 3 different things instead of focusing, and the commander that was elected at the beginning of the game is doing nothing.
Yeah. Gotcha.
It's kind of why I stopped playing Squad. It was just a fucking nightmare to find a proper game where people wanted to command. And I also had my same curse that I often have in Arma, which is I often ended up taking the lead because people were incompetent. So, okay.
Well, I will say this: the TBO is remarkably good at attracting lurkers compared to a lot of other Discords that I'm in.
We try.
Yeah.
I'm not. I don't know why. I'm not. It's not. It's not me putting it down at all. It's just an observation.
I mean, we don't kick people out for being inactive, if that's what you mean. Ultimately, it doesn't do any harm for us to have people in the Discord that don't play the game. Like, who cares? Like, we could have 1 million people on our Discord server and 10 people that play Arma 3. Ultimately, those 1 million people aren't causing us any problems. Might be causing Discord some problems, but yeah. Anyway, we're going completely off the topic of tonight. One thing I will ask of you guys and girls, if you check your inventory, if you haven't got a toolkit, go into the HQ building, and the arsenal there will be able to give you a toolkit. So if just everybody just carries a toolkit on them, just for the thing. Fastwinder will obviously have one. You should have one because of the loadout you've picked.
Mine detector.
I got one.
Yeah, you mine detector. Mine detectors as well if you can fit them in your loadouts.
I think I just don't have the diffusal kit.
A lot of things in
You don't need diffusal kit. Let me just grab a. Just trying to think whether I've got right arsenal.
Too, if you can fit it, and I'm sat there just thinking to myself, I can fit a lot of things in.
Yeah, but I didn't find the diffusal kit, so...
I need to sort these boxes out. I think I have on the new one.
I'll just brew it up. It's a normal procedure.
Yeah, this whole thing of having multiple boxes in the same place, I've kind of done away with it on the new training mission because I realised it was kind of pointless.
We're going to do some convoy. Yay! Finally, someone will write some of the convoy logistic certification.
Yeah, indeed.
What the heck? Okay, I can't fit one radio for some reason.
Not gonna need that.
It also teaches people how to properly drive in convoys anyway, so...
That will do.
The problem is that there are wrong people that should learn this. There should be someone else here learning how to drive in Arma.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. All, like, the people who were really in and engaged, like, were all corporals or higher and have done a lot of the training, I guess.
Yeah,
I guess that's why we are those things.
Not only the privates have problem with driving, and I'm looking to cowboy.
So
Mikey's an anomaly.
Mikey's brilliant. I love Mikey. He just doesn't get enough time online with us, and that's no fault of his own.
Mikey's outstanding for ambience, like when he gets shot, the way he screams, or
I really like that guy. I really hope he can play with us a bit more in the future because I know he's had a few things come up lately.
Dude, it's nothing like takes the edge off of like when you're in a firefight and Mikey gets hit and you just hear him like 50 meters away. It's just like fuck.
Yeah. That's a good
I
impression.
would 100% be like him if it wasn't for other people in my house that
Precisely,
always
yeah.
complain about me being loud, because I love to actually role play
I
completely in.
I can get away with it because I live in the countryside with an 87-year-old landlady who needs a hearing aid, so she can't hear me beyond 10 o'clock. Right, so everybody has a mine detector and everybody has a toolkit. The reason for the toolkit is because you need it to be able to change wheels. You don't have to be an engineer to change wheels. You need to be an engineer to perform advanced repairs, but anyway. But you need a toolkit to change a wheel. Who knew?
I need the mine detector as well.
Just keep it on you just in case. We'll see what happens. Right, so as you guys and girls know, or hopefully know, tonight we're going to practice some convoy drills. Now, I've noticed that obviously all four of you here are experienced and fairly switched on people,
Did
which
he cut
hopefully
out
means...
just for me?
No, he's cut out.
Ah, fuck it.
Are you back?
Yep, it's because I just jumped in and out of Zeus and sometimes it takes a second. So, yeah, you guys and girls here, you've mostly been here for a little while. You're all very switched on people, so hopefully this is going to be quite a seamless little session. And it's not something we've ever practiced before. So, you know, the whole thing of people crashing into each other or making fuck ups when they're in convoy, we've never taught it. All right. So to a degree, you kind of have to cut people some slack, and it's hilarious when you have hypersonic Bradley. But let's see if we can iron a bit of that out. As NCOs as well, I'm hoping that you lot are gonna take what we learned today. Hopefully, you will learn some things today. Hopefully, there'll be some things that are just clarified as well that you maybe already knew or that you've seen on TV or whatever it is, and you can shell that experience out to the others. So, for example, if the next time you're online and you've got a private who is a driver of your vehicle, you can coach them. Yeah, don't have a go at them because they're not here. They haven't had this training session, but you can coach them. You can teach them what you know, and hopefully we will have a lot less hypersonic Bradleys in the future. Although, in fairness, that was a civilian. That wasn't really our fault.
You get an achievement for going flying in a ground vehicle now.
Yeah. So we're going to start this really Billy basics and just kind of ramp it up bit by bit, and we'll see how the time goes, and then we'll try and do some fun team games at the end, which is one of the reasons I wanted an even number of people, because I can split you into pairs at the end and we'll do a little bit of competitiveness.
I don't know if I'm going to stay up until the end. I'm feeling queasy, but I'm just here because I am tired of being on a fucking bed.
No worries. Well, we'll try not to be too long. So if you reference your maps, what we're going to do to start with, we're going to just grab a couple of... we'll take trucks, because trucks are big and cumbersome and a pain in the ass to drive. I think you guys are a bit beyond Land Rovers. We'll take a couple of trucks. We'll have a driver and a co-driver in each to start with. And we'll basically go from the engineer base where we are now. We'll go southwest. And then we'll get ourselves onto the main road. At which point we will then head down towards Pyrgos. You'll notice that it starts nice and open. We get a nice stretch of main road. We go to a built-up area. We'll carry on through Pyrgos until we get to probably the V-shaped junction just slightly to the south of Pyrgos, at which point we'll turn the vehicles around and we'll switch the drivers with the co-drivers, and then we'll drive back. We're literally going to start with really, really basic 2 vehicles, okay? One at the front, one at the rear. We're going to have a driver and a co-driver in each vehicle so that you've got someone to fucking talk to, basically, to start with, and we'll suffer and come back. That's what we're going to start with. I will be on the Zeus cam. I will also have my long-range radio on me. I will be in the back of one of your trucks. So 50% of you will be able to shit-talk me, and the other 50% will not. And we'll literally start with distances between vehicles, generally driving speeds, okay, bit of awareness, all right? Nothing crazy on this very, very first little bit of run, okay? Nice and easy. Then we'll ramp it up and start going through some various other bits like SOPs, contacts, mine strikes, shit like that, and make it more interesting, and then we'll get some team exercises. This is not going to be hard stuff, all right? So,
can I make a keybind suggestion?
Yes.
Cruise control.
Cruise control is insert?
Insert, yes. It's below your print screen key if you have a QWERTY keyboard.
Believe it or not, I've never used it.
Yeah, if you press insert, you'll activate cruise control, and then by using control scroll wheel, then you can adjust your speed in increments of 5 kilometers an hour.
Yep, so for you guys, if you... Oh, there's those keybinds that I was looking for the other day. If you go into your... Press escape, go to configure, go to controls. then go to add-ons. Within add-ons, it's the ACE vehicles controls, and you will click on that and you will straight away see you've got cruise control, increase speed and decrease speed. So if you're doing a particularly long journey and you're sitting at a certain speed, that's perfect. It obviously helps as well if you've got vehicles of different speeds. So if you're in a Land Rover and you're behind a truck, the truck's going to be slower, so you can match their speed. That's very well pointed out, Lena. I personally have not really used it much. I probably should. All right, I'm going to leave you guys to work that out. Okay, use this time to kind of practice it. What we are going to do though is we're going to jump into a couple of the trucks. Okay, reference the 2 trucks that have got the canvas bodies. Actually, no, fuck that. I want an open topped. The 2 trucks at the end. I'm not sitting in the canvas. I'm sitting on top. All right. We'll split you into pairs. So Lena, fast wind, just because you're next to each other. Lova, red code. Amongst yourselves, work out who's driving down and then who's driving back. Obviously, we will be swapping. Okay, let's go.
Do you want to drive first or not?
Also, before we go, so I should have said as well. Who's?
I have my
Are you carrying long range?
So if I'm not getting motion sick right now,
okay.
I'm not gonna get motion sick anytime soon. So up to you.
Alright, I'll drive first.
Long range radio channel net 10. Short range, just keep it on channel 1. All right.
Yeah, let me get out.
And if you need to con with me, obviously I've got the long range in my back. But for the most part, what you should be able to do is use your PRRs to communicate from one vehicle to the next. Now, obviously, if we had a long convoy, you might have to relay messages from the front vehicle to the rear vehicle. Bear that in mind. We probably will do a very brief practice of that later, but we'll see how time goes. I'm not going to teach you suckings if I don't have to. Happy? Go around clockwise. All call signs is Preywinder. Radio check, over. On the PRR.
Lena, okay, over.
Off, okay, over.
Hello, okay, over.
Record, okay, over.
Preywinder, okay, out. Lena and red code, you've got long range, haven't you? Okay, hello, Lena and red code, this is Preywinder. Radio check, over. On long range.
Lena, okay, over.
Record, okay, over.
Preywinder, okay, out. Cool, mount up.
I like how you just pull a massive phone to your face whenever you go on long range.
I like to eat my phones.
Thank you, drive first.
Explains a lot.
Drive you first. Are we going to have a...
There are only 2 seats in the front, aren't there? Yeah, I'm gonna have to. I have to jump in the back. Damn shame.
Forgot the wheel.
The view from up here is incredible. Right, who's in the truck with me? I've got red code.
And Lobo.
Yeah.
Lova and red
I
code.
actually am.
Okay, ladies and gents, so what we're going to do, we're going to start off with Lena's truck going first, with us behind. Now, a couple of quick ground rules before we head out. When we are on open ground, so nice open areas with plenty of vision, nice straight roads, so on and so forth, you want the distance between vehicles to be about 100 to 200 metres. Obviously, if you're going faster, open the gap a bit. If you're slowing down a bit, you can close the gap up. Definitely no less than 100 metres. Obviously, if you get things like bends and things like that, consider your speed, close up a little bit because you don't want to lose visibility of your truck. All right. When you're in built-up areas, slow right down. So you always maintain a slower speed in built-up areas. If you hold control while you're holding W, you will naturally maintain a slower speed. Be very aware of things like civilians. And then you close the gap to more like 40 to 50 meters. Hopefully everybody's happy on that. If you need me to say again, let me know. Otherwise, Lena, if you drive out first, and then our truck will follow.
Yeah, you would prefer the...
Roger that. Do you want me to follow the speed limit or not?
If you want to follow the speed limit, you do so. You're going to dictate the speed that we travel at. What I will say is, whilst we're inside the engineer base, stay slow. Once we get out of the actual base, you can then go to the speed that you feel is viable for the roads and the terrain.
Gotcha.
Route will be marked on GPS.
Speaking of keybinds, by the way, Control plus page up, page down to raise lower your seat.
I did not know that this had adjustable seats.
Pretty much any vehicle does.
Moving the camera really, aren't you?
It actually moves your entire head. in the game.
So something that your co-driver can be doing, is, especially if you're the vehicle in front, is looking in the mirror to make sure the other vehicle's still behind you, especially when you're going around the corners. So just because you're in the lead vehicle and you're not driving doesn't mean you're sitting idle.
Also probably scan for IEDs on the road in front of you.
Yeah, start getting into that mindset. I will say I'm not putting any IEDs down for this first run, but later, possibly.
Don't worry. I have a feeling like Fastwind and Lobo have a very bright memory about IEDs.
Yeah, you call this IED alley?
I think you have a good memory about IEDs and not looking around.
I was referring to previous mission, but okay.
Yeah, nicely done. Foreign country, right hand side of the road. But now we're on the main road. Once the convoy is on the main road, we can obviously open up the put your foot down. Sorry, I'm trying to spit the words out.
Should I go grab my steering wheel?
Yeah, if you like.
I've tried it. It's not like you're using an auto smooth lanes in Arma. Driving vehicles with a steering wheel in Arma, that actually sucks.
I dread to think. Yep, good drills. So obviously lead vehicle has slowed right down and is hopefully maintaining a good sense of awareness. Feel free to shout out on the radio if you see something that's like obviously in the way. Feel free to call it out, or if you think there might potentially be a hazard, feel free to call it back. Obviously, if it's just a civilian standing by the side of the road, then it's your call. And obviously for the rear vehicle, you don't want to obviously hit the throttle too hard, but again, trying to keep the gaps sort of 40-50 meters because we're not really too far apart, just in case something does happen. We want to obviously be close enough that we can support each other. Just while we're doing this as well, so a couple of side reasons as to why you might do these distances, especially on the open roads. Ignoring the whole desync thing that is natural to online gaming. We all know how that works. But there are other reasons as well. So for example, when you're out on the open road, you want to maintain that 100 to 200 meter gap so that civilian traffic can filter in and out between your convoy, especially when you think if you're on a highway / motorway, you're coming up to a junction, you want the cars to be able to get through your convoy to get on and off that highway. When you're in the built-up areas, it's a similar sort of story. You don't want to be completely cock-blocking the civilians if you're in a non-hostile area. You also don't want to be so close together that if a vehicle hits an IED that you all go up in smoke. But you don't want to completely lose comms range or line of sight of every single vehicle either. So there's that middle ground, essentially, that sort of judgment call you have to make. Okay, so obviously we're getting near the V point. Lena, if you want to carry on a little bit further just down the road until you get to the big green tower, and then we'll use that as the turnaround point. Okay, so one of the words of command would be potentially might be prepare to halt as a heads up, followed by halt. If somebody said to you to halt, if you're on a road, normally what you do is you bring the vehicle off the road to a steady stop, essentially. It's not an emergency stop, it's just halt when it's nice, safe and easy to do so. And the reason you come away from the road is to let civilian traffic or other vehicles get past you as well. The key difference is if I said the word stop or stop, that would be I need you to stop this vehicle right now. Alright, either because there's a threat or a tactical situation, whatever it might be. Cool. Okay, swap drivers and co-drivers, and then I'll carry on yakking and boring you all to tears. Good lord.
Also,
Told you.
I want to point out that the fastest way to stop a vehicle in Arma is to hit both the brake and the end brake, so both the S key and the X key.
Roger that. So what we'll do, we're literally going to go around this base. Note that there is a low stone wall to your left when you leave as well, and try not to take the fence out. So when we drive, go forwards out of this fenced off area, go all the way around, and then back onto the road behind us where we sort of came in. And then we're literally going to do the reverse route of what we just did, following the same sort of drills. Any questions?
Not on my side.
Cool. Okay, so lead vehicle. Obviously, once you're happy, let the rest of the convoy know that you're moving, and then drive on. At which point, hopefully, our driver will follow.
Okay, first vehicle of the convoy moving.
We're doing off-road.
I don't want to know, but there wasn't a roundabout down there, so I just thought, yeah.
Could have done a 3-point maneuver to reverse ourselves.
Huh.
Austin should know about that, as he's Aero Truck Simulator player like me.
This is easy mode, right? No trailer.
So one of the things to bear in mind, and we do get this obviously a lot on the live ops, is civilian vehicles either driving along or potentially static in the way. If that does happen, or you see an obstacle, be sure to let everybody else in the convoy know what the situation is, and then either wait for it to unfold or go around it if it's safe to do so.
Only if it's an obstacle in the road, not if they're only on the side or anything else.
If it's off to the side and you think, yeah, that's not going anywhere, it's fine. If it's a civilian that's sort of milling about on the side and you think he might run across the front of you, then obviously judgment call. Say to everyone, hey, this civvy might do something stupid.
Civilian bus on the road.
Road.
It's quite cool if
Got a civilian bus in the road ahead of us.
quite cool if
Yep.
the buses actually drop people off.
Yeah, roger that.
We'll
So
make it
you
do
called it
that.
out, it moved out the way, it's gone obviously a different route in this case. So yeah, at this point obviously feel free to continue. If he did stay there for a while, what I'd probably suggest is you stop your convoy and just wait for a few moments and see if he is going anywhere before you then try and get around him. Worst case scenario is maybe even get somebody to get out and go up and tell the driver to piss off, which yes you can do on the live ops. No, we do not execute the driver.
I don't know if they run over, can we? Right, someone messing with the car on the left there.
Yep.
Oh, he's broken down.
So distances at this point are good. There's currently about 40, 50, 60 metres. There's probably about 50 or 60 metres between you at the moment, which isn't bad. You can afford to get a little bit closer if you need to, but this is good, and the speed is also good. You're giving yourself plenty of time to react to any changes.
Crazy person on the road.
Yeah, there's a few of them around. What we'll do at this point, we won't drive back into the base. We'll stay on the main road for a little while longer until we get to... Keep driving until we get to the next town, which I can't remember the name of.
That would be the town of Dorita.
Yep, just spotted it. Cool. Yeah, Dorita. So we're going to drive along.
Now
You've got
leaving Pagos.
1.5 kilometres of main road, which you can open up the distance and open up the speed. And then obviously once we get to Dorita, we're going to go left and actually into that town. Thank you, Lona. Doobie-doo. Okay, I'll mark it on the map in a minute, but as we get into the town of Derrida, obviously, as before, you're going to slow right down, close up the gaps. And then once we get actually into that town, you will take the third left and then go back out of the town via the north. I say again, it'll be the third left out the town via the north. Once we leave the town, we will then do a controlled halt off the road out in the fields.
This is the first time in Arma I'm actually driving by the limit.
Ha! Doobie-doo. Once you get through the halt marker, you'll see a friendly jackal about another 80 meters up on the left hand side. So basically you will come off the road and halt anywhere before that jackal. Okay.
Circle inside.
Yep, cool. Cool, and as we halt, so you just keep yourself a couple of meters apart, don't actually crash into each other. And then we'll dismount for a sec. Meet up in the middle of the convoy. Cool, we're not going to do the whole all-round protection for this. You guys have fucking kicked that to death in your careers here. Are we missing someone?
Where's Lena?
No, you're not.
Oh, Lena is here? Okay.
Right, fast one's there.
Awesome.
Right, so really, I know that started off basic knowledge stuff. I just wanted to get you used to handling the vehicles and stuff before we go to the next bit, and a little bit of basic convoy drills. Hopefully, at the very least, you've now got some stuff in your brain where you're like, okay, the next time we're on the live ops, I know this is the distance, this is the speed in this environment, and I can tell my driver that information as and when the time comes. I'm now going to give you a couple of basic SOPs, and then we're going to mount up. You'll notice that there is a jackal up ahead. So 2 of you are going to be driving the trucks, and the other 2 are going to be the driver and the gunner of the jackal, which will be the force protection of this convoy. All right. We will rotate through so that the 2 people in the jackal goes in trucks, and vice versa. All right. So we'll do this a couple of times. You're not going to get ambushed by a T90. All right. Clearly, it's a fucking open top vehicle with a 50 cal. All right. So the expectation is the vehicle is going to be able to deal with the situation. So, we here, this convoy, right, we've got supplies for, insert call sign here, a couple of kilometres to our north. They are, where's that village? Cool. So, a couple of kilometres north at the town, village rather, of Nifi. Hopefully on your maps you can see where we are, where we've got to go. We're going to take the most direct route there. Okay, there is a potential hostile threat. Okay, potential small arms. We're not anticipating any great numbers. They may or may not engage us. So standard operating procedure, if we meet contact, is for the force protection, i.e. Jackal. Force protection will put itself as a screen between the convoy and the enemy and will suppress the enemy. Note, I said suppress the enemy. Obviously, if you kill them, that's a bonus. But your main thing is get the enemy's fucking head down. Trucks, you will just bomb burst and get out of the kill zone. Okay, you will proceed up the road until you find yourself out of the contact, at which point you will halt in a safe area, like we have here off the road. You will dismount, take up position, and wait for further instruction, i.e. don't bomb burst all the way up to Niffy unless Niffy's only 300 meters up the road, which is fine. All right, but if you go 500 meters, you're out of the contact, and then the Jackal comes up, that's a safe enough spot you can then pull over. Understood? So, okay. So, fast wind. So, what's our objective?
We are going to move the convoy through from this point to Niffy.
Niffy, yep.
We're going to have the... It's good, Jackal.
Yep, you can have the Jackal. Okay.
Defensive vehicle in front is going to provide...
Hang on. I only asked you what the objective was. Okay. Lena, SOPs on contact.
If we come under contact, then the Jackal's to provide a screen for the transport trucks and suppress the enemy whilst they move out of the AO.
Absolutely. Yep.
First question.
Yep.
By provide a screen, are we actually meaning the smoke screen from the Jackal?
I mean, if you can operate the smokes on it, yeah, but what you're essentially doing is you're putting the Jackal between the trucks and the enemy, because what we're doing is we're assuming these trucks have got some very much needed supplies for whoever's in Niffy, and the Jackal isn't carrying those supplies. So unfortunately, the Jackal is the bodyguard, all right? It will literally put itself between the road and the enemy position, as well as obviously then employing the 50 cal. You know, as God has given it a 50 cal, you might as well fucking use it, right? The trucks will get through that kill zone out the other side. As soon as the trucks are out, the Jackal will then form up behind them, obviously continue to suppress the enemy until you're out of there, at which point we then come off the road like we are here, dismount, bit of a run defense, make sure that we're safe. All right.
Okay.
So when I say put a screen, I mean literally put yourself between the trucks and the enemy, because the trucks are important.
Yeah, the Jackal can actually deploy the smoke screens. I think the command is for the driver, though. It's from the countermeasure key.
Feel free to use it. I'll give you a very quick example on the map. So let's say you're driving along, a red objective marker, you get shot at there. Lone gunman comes out from, let's say, from the east, a couple of 100 meters away, and starts laying down a bit of small arms from there. Okay, the Jackal at this point will actually get itself off the road to that right hand side, so it's between the road and the enemy, and then the trucks will literally fuck off up the road along that other blue line until they get out of the contact, at which point they'll stop, which in this case will probably only need to go as far as maybe the T-junction, maybe a tiny bit further. All right, and then they'll halt there, all regroup, we'll make sure that we're good, we haven't got any casualties, that the contact's left us alone, and we'll remount back up and carry on. Yeah, does that make sense to everyone? Okay. It's a really, really basic, just small arms, all right? We're not anticipating fucking hind attack helicopters and stuff in this scenario. Getting contact, what we do, all right? You may or may not get contact. I don't know, I haven't decided yet. I might just let you drive up there unhindered. 2 volunteers for the Jackal.
I guess I'll do it.
Yeah, why not?
Okay, Lovo, Lena, you're on force protection on the Jackal. Obviously, bear in mind it's a much faster vehicle, so you're going to have to make sure that you're not pulling away from the convoy. Equally with the convoy, you know, if the Jackal's getting too far ahead, don't feel compelled to drive at 90 kilometers an hour through a built-up area. Tell the Jackal they're going too fast. But if it is an open road, put your foot down for fuck's sake. Yeah, communicate between yourselves. And it obviously goes without saying, the same as with buses, civilians, obstacles, etc. If you spot anything, call it out. Even if you're like, there's a man on the hill, I don't know if he's hostile, you could even just say that, just off the left-hand side on the hill, there's a potential gunman, keep your eye on him. Yeah, or whatever it might be. Right, I've harped on enough. Let's see how you get on. Lena?
Yeah.
I'd like you to basically control the convoy as it was. Yeah, so you and the Jackal, whether you're on the gunner seat or the driver's seat, you're the one that's going to make sure everybody's ready to move and then tell us that you're moving.
Roger.
I'm going to jump back in this truck. Actually, I'm going to go in the rear truck. Why not?
Gonna be on a gun then if you're patrolling?
Yeah, sure.
Makes sense, doesn't it?
Right, fast brake code, you good there in the trucks?
Record ready to move?
Also okay.
Right, cool. We're going to move out northward along this road, set speed to 60 kilometers an hour. Jackal will lead at the front. Right, convoy prepared to move. Convoy moving. Some tall grass on the right side of the road. You keep an eye on it. Contact. Pull off to the right. Trucks just stay ahead. Trucks, once you get about 400 meters up the road, then come to a halt on the left side, please.
Roger that.
One times enemy gun when engaged and neutralized will be reforming up on you now.
Okay, so at this point, if all the trucks had co-drivers, what you could potentially do is to get the co-drivers to just get out and do force protection, and the drivers either stay in or near the vehicles. Obviously, in this case, we haven't got that many people. What we'll do at this point, I'm going to say, right, doesn't look like we've got any casualties. All the vehicles are still in good motion. So I'm going to mount back up on the back of the truck. Lena, as soon as you're happy, we'll move on to Niffy.
Roger that. In that case, mount back up.
I'm in.
Right, cool. Right, convoy prepared to move. Same deal as before, 70 kilometers an hour, all the way down to Niffy. Jackal will lead. And convoy, move out.
Once we get to Niffy, obviously just stop somewhere that you feel good. I'll let you work it out.
Alright, bring your speed down to 20, and then we are going to come to a halt on the left-hand side of the road up where these orchards are. And convoy prepare to halt. And convoy halt here.
Yeah, remember not in the middle of the road if you can help it. Obviously, if there's buildings either side, there's only so much you can do. but while it's soft fencing and things up, just fucking take it out. Doobie-doo, doobie-doo. Okay, dismount, stretch your legs, and then we'll swap over. Yep. So, where is everybody? Meet up between the convoy and the road, ladies and gents. Cool. Love it. So just generally, how'd you find that? Obviously it was low level stuff, but it's still good stuff to practice. It's these sort of things that until you actually put it into practice, there's always little things that you think, oh, actually, either I could have done that better, or fuck, that went wildly out of control.
I'm looking at a pointer right now for whoever was driving the Jackal. Maybe shut down the engine.
Oh, did you? All right. Yeah, fair point.
I mean, the hard part about all that was, as it often is just knowing where the bullets are coming from.
Yeah, so I mean, if all you know is that the tracers are coming from the right-hand side, as long as you can say contact right on the radio, if there's multiple force protection vehicles, all the other vehicles then know to come off on the right-hand side to put themselves between the convoy and the contact. Now, obviously, if you're being ambushed from both sides, which no decent ambush should ever be on both sides, then yeah, it's obviously a more difficult situation. You're very rarely ever just going to be ambushed by one dude. Unless it's Afghanistan, they used to do that quite a lot. But it gives you the idea of you're protecting the important assets, especially as they can't fight back. The trucks are getting the fuck out of there. The force protection is dealing with the situation. As soon as the trucks are safe, the Jackal catches up. The fact that you killed the gunman is neither here nor there. If you just suppressed the shit out of him and left him alive, fine. But yeah, killing him was even better. Now, can I do this without getting us killed? Possibly not. Okay, right, yeah, swap over. Whoever was in the Jackal trucks and whoever was in the trucks Jackal. What we're going to do, we are going to do a UE.
Down to Zeus again.
Yeah, I've done the Zeus thing again. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, this time we're going to go to Charkia. So give me 2 seconds. If we go into Charkia, reference the T-junction. So as we come in from this side, there is a T-junction next to a church. What we'll do is we'll stop the trucks between the crossroad, my apologies, between the crossroad and the church at grid 181151. So that's where we're going to head to on this occasion. SOPs, exactly the same sort of thing. Okay, if we meet contact, as soon as you know where the contact is, call it out on the radio and get the force protection somewhere between the bad guy or bad guys and yeah, the trucks. Trucks are important. Any questions?
So the Jackal crew are now crewing the trucks.
Exactly. So you've swapped Jackal crew and trucks, truck crew and Jackal. Whoever's in the Jackal, it'll be Red Cone Fastwind run it. So this time, obviously, you guys are controlling when the convoy is going to move and stuff like that, as Lena was earlier. Work out amongst yourselves. I know Red Code, obviously, you're feeling a bit heady. So if you want Fastwind to take the reins, I'll let you two work it out. Other than that, let's mount up, and then whenever you're happy and ready, let's go to Charkia.
Okay, I'm gonna run the turret. Oh shit. Where is the turret?
Doopy 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 doo. Fun fact, especially for you, Fastwind, when we do this with the 3CB, we'll actually be able to drop off containers and pick them up and things like that. So we could actually go one step further and go, right, how do we deal with this situation when we've got all these fucking containers to deal with as well?
Reloading the turret. Okay, turret loaded. Ready. We need to go west.
Yeah, we have to turn around.
Okay.
Convoy, ready to move. We're going to turn around in this position and move for our next destination. Lena, Lavo, are you ready?
Ready.
Lena, ready.
Okay, convoy moving.
Hope you're ready for a smooth ride of cruise control and mouse steering.
Call for toll gases in both of the sides of the road. Contact left, convoy, continue on the road, get down 40 meter, 100 meters apart. Then at your discretion, when you're far enough, hold the convoy to the side. Fancy vehicle returning to the convoy.
Good shit. Okay, Lovo, in a sense of if we had co-drivers as well, what would we potentially do now?
Co-drivers would give all around security for the trucks.
Yep, correct. Obviously, if you were really jittery, you could potentially all get out the trucks, or you could leave the drivers in or near the trucks. Absolutely fine.
Status of the vehicles.
Vehicles are fine, no injuries.
Okay, convoy, get ready to move again.
No, we're ready.
Lena, ready.
Convoy moving.
Cool. Good comms. Gentle reminder, built up area, slow it right down, close up the gaps. Also, nice, good of you to call out the civilians that were standing on the corner there. Obviously, they could have potentially been dickers. Notice how one of them had binoculars. I am making this a slightly Afghanistan-esque type scenario, as you may have noticed. But yeah, point still stands. You call these things out if you're not sure.
You don't shoot them if they're not carrying weapons.
Yeah, I did actually call the car to fast wind in Italian. Yeah, it's feeling really a lot like Afghanistan, but we're in Greece.
Okay, fast wind. I want you to stop the Jackal as if you've just hit an IED and lost a wheel. At which point the convoy is going to grind to a stop behind it. Stop, stop, stop. Okay, I was going to make an actual IED go off, but I thought it might just fucking kill everybody. So, let's imagine for a second that our lead vehicle has hit an IED. Now what I want everyone to do is just quickly dismount, meet next to the middle truck, and we'll talk about it first. Without shooting each other.
Yeah, that wasn't in the...
Yeah, it's going to be non-tact for this chat. Right, okay, so we're in a fairly built-up area. Obviously, in this case, the Jackal's not quite in the middle of the road, so actually you could have probably gone past it. But let's say, as an example, the vehicle in front, either in IED or rocket or whatever, vehicle in front is now immobilised. It's now essentially a roadblock. Okay, so not the most built-up area I could have picked, but we'll roll with it. Imagine this is a built-up area like a town. What considerations at this point, assuming that's just happened, what considerations would you need to think of as part of this convoy?
Okay, is the turret still operable? How many ammunitions do we have on the turret? Vehicle might be immobilized, but we still have like a really big gun on top of it. If it still works, can it provide cover for like whoever is gonna fix it?
Potentially, yeah.
I was going to say protection and casualties.
Protection and casualties is a big one. So going back on what Redco was saying, so yeah, Lovo was being a little bit more generic, Redco was being more specific, but the answers are still the same. If the 50 cal still works and the gun has not been blown to pieces, potentially he could go, my driver's fucked, but I'm going to provide Overwatch if somebody else comes up and deals with that. That's no problem. If we say maybe it's not an armed vehicle or if the weapon's down, then going back to what Lovo was saying in the slightly more broad version, you're not going to want to stay in those vehicles, all right? If that vehicle's immobilized and you're able to get out, get the fuck out of it, because one of two things is going to happen. Either one, it's going to be followed up by an actual contact, in which case sitting in an immobilized vehicle in the middle of the road is not going to help, right? Or two, potentially it might fucking blow up and cook off. All right? Yeah, the IED may have ruptured something and it may have just been like a delayed thing. So ideally, if the vehicle does get that badly crippled and you're able to get out, you're going to want to get the fuck out. Now, if the other trucks can't get past and your original SOPs were if you get contact, drive the fuck out of there, again, other considerations, right? So these trucks have now stopped. This is where there are 101 million ways of dealing with this situation. And as section commanders or as convoy drivers, vehicles commanders, whatever it is, you've now got to think, right, what am I going to do? If you're bottled in, really your only choice is get out of the vehicles and provide all-round defense on foot. And actually, 9 times out of 10, that is going to be the better choice. If you're not bottled in, so like here, for example, the vehicle's on the right, you can get past it, and the IED goes off and it's followed up by small arms fire, yeah, you could drive past it, get the trucks out of the danger zone as we did earlier. But what's another consideration?
Might be leaving people behind.
Not so much that.
There might be or more IEDs.
There might be more IEDs. That might not be the only one. So think about the IED threat in, what was the name of that town where there were like 13 IEDs and we had the Abrams with us a few weeks ago. IEDs absolutely fucking everywhere. Yeah, and there was a point where there was literally a point where the Mastiff was parked by the side of the road and there were probably 3 or 4 IEDs within 20 meters. Yeah, it was carnage. If you'd have driven a convoy through that and your front vehicle had hit on IED and you were in a built-up area and there was a high IED threat, I would actually say the very first thing every person who is not a casualty should do is we call them in real life the 5s and 20s, right? If you're not familiar with that term, your 5s and 20s, if you're walking around, you're constantly making sure everything within 5 meters is clear of everything. And then you're also looking within a 20-meter radius around you for anything obvious or any cover and stuff like that. 5s and 20s. You'd do the same before you get out the truck. You'd stop the truck, have a quick look out the window, have a quick look at your mine detector and make sure you're not about to step on another IED. So that's your 5-meter check just immediately around you. You'd then get out the truck and do your 20s, i.e. have a look at the vehicle in front, the vehicle behind, look around either side of you. Again, are there any IEDs? Is there any cover? Yeah? You don't just blindly get out the truck and run off. The reason I'm really emphasising on this is because of the IED threat in Shoreditch right now, where this could potentially happen. All right? Always have that awareness. If one IED goes off exactly as Red Code said, there could be another. Could be another 10. You don't know. And obviously protection and casualties as well.
If you haven't seen it already, The Art Locker is a nice film about this specific problem in Afghanistan.
Which film?
The Art Locker.
Oh, The Hurt Locker. Yes.
Hurt Locker.
Hurt Locker. Yeah, I quite like that film. A lot of, there's a lot of critique about some of the realism in it, but do you know what? There's some bits of it that I think actually really hit the nail on the head. You're absolutely right. Especially that bit where he picks up the wire and it's attached to like 8 other fucking and you just
up.
Exactly. He's diffused one and there's 7 or 8 others. And that in Afghanistan and even in Iraq, yeah, that used to happen a lot. They would have secondary IEDs and the idea was, let's say you're driving in convoy like this, that hits a little IED that blows a wheel off, but nobody's actually killed. And everyone goes, oh my God, quick, everyone get out your vehicles. And then another bigger IED goes off. Whilst you're all completely you're all caught off guard by the first IED, and then as the dust settles, a bigger one goes off, blows half your convoy to bits because you're all static, and then they start shooting at you. Real threat. As I say, I can't massively practice that because if I set an IED off under that jackal, I have a feeling it will just explode. Well, I mean, I could practice it, but 2 of you will die. And I didn't really want to do that. I just wanted to talk about it and make you aware. Have any of you got any questions or points on like a vehicle being immobilized or an IED strike on a convoy? I'm happy to sit here and discuss it and come out with what if scenarios if you want.
If you want to have IEDs that will not instantly kill us while we are into vehicles, there are the Barrowhead anti-personnel mines that will blow off mostly one tire of a vehicle, but will not kill us, will injure us.
Yes. Mine.
I think the problem with IEDs or anyways when there are critical situation with logistic or anyways convoys is more about the situation than the actual practice, because lots of times you have to decide in that moment what you're going to do, and depends on did you have the encounters before getting here, or it is safe to go back and change the route, or did you have encounters before and it's not possible to go back and you're stuck. There are usually a lot of things you have to look around.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just going to quickly test something. Huh. Okay. Well, you can thank Redcode for this.
Yeah, we're going to lose a lot of wheel, and a lot of engineer will be really angry.
Yep. So,
the engineer corp you're by representing is like already thinking about how much pay increase is going to be okay.
Right. So, I'm not going to tell you whether it's going to be a contact or a mine or whatever, but what I will say is you've practiced a couple of contacts. Obviously, small arms guys firing at you, and you managed to get the trucks out of the area. I will say the first time round I was controlling the gunman, and the second time round I wasn't, and there were 2 of them, and you managed to A, not die, and B, suppress and kill the enemy. Well done.
One of those 2 were fucking sneaky.
Yeah, I know one of them hit the dirt pretty quick. I'm not surprised. He had 12.7mm rounds going over his head. And we've talked about actions on an IED. Now I've obviously built up areas. Clearly, if you're not in a built up area, again, it's the consideration of if I drive around this vehicle, am I going to hit another IED? All right. What I would probably suggest is it would be probably down to either the convoy commander or your SOPs at the time. If I'm thinking about from my side and the IED threat in Chernerus, I would say stop the convoy, do 5s and 20s, and do all-round protection, just in case of additional IEDs.
Yeah, if you were in Chernerus, my first reaction will be everyone stop right fucking gear and let's check out the surrounding area, because it's gonna be rough.
So again, if it was something like Afghanistan, that first IED, if it's followed up by small arms, then you would revert back to the contact SOP. But yeah, with the situation in Chernerus, what we'll do is we'll go with the alternative, which is if somebody hits a mine or an IED, stop the convoy, have a look around, get out. If you're in a force protection vehicle, obviously, you've got a gun, you don't need to get out. If you're in a truck, stop, get out, do your 5s and 20s, and then get into cover. Happy?
One thing that might help you as well is that once we switch over to the 3CB mods, some of the vehicles, like the American Humvees, actually allow you to roll down the windows and aim your rifle and fire them out the window, which aids in getting a little bit more lead down target to suppress. But yeah. Yeah,
and you would do that in reality. In real life, your trucks would have what's called top cover as well, so you'd have an LMG or a GPMG on the top of every single truck. For a bit of context, so I was in a logistics regiment. I think you all probably know that. I don't know if you did. One of the things that used to happen in Afghanistan was what called combat logistic patrols. Now, against a first world country, you wouldn't necessarily do this. But in Afghanistan, you would have convoys that could be 100, 150, 200 trucks. You put 100 meters between every single truck and you've got 150 of them. That's a long fucking convoy. Now you consider that every 4th or 5th vehicle is force protection, like a Mastiff or a Jackal, and every single one of those has either got a 50 cal or a grenade machine gun on top, and every single one of these has got either a GPMG or an LMG on top. Right? You know those 2 guys with assault rifles that you lot just domed? Yeah. They didn't used to fuck with our logistics convoys very often. And when they did, they tended to come off a bit worse. So our logistics actually got left alone for the most part. They did try IED strikes with varying success. The trucks and the vehicles tend to be equipped with like ECM jammers. So they've got like an ECM bubble which goes out to 50 to 100 meters. I can't remember exactly, but basically it helps to reduce the chance of somebody using a remote detonator and shit like that. So generally speaking, our logistics trains, especially towards the end of the Afghan war, got left alone just because a farmer with an AK was never going to fight 150 vehicles with machine guns on top.
No, a similar thing happened to the Americans as well, except they started getting crafty and they started like conducting ambushes from as far away as possible, as high up in the hills as they could, until the Americans had outfitted every single one of their Humvees with a laser designator, and they introduced Mr. Taliban to our little friend called Strike Eagle.
Yeah, I mean the other thing we would do. So obviously you would always have sort of your hotspots, and you're more likely to engage hostiles in some areas than others. So if you were driving along a road that if your convoy commander had an inkling there might be a gunman in the area, they would usually get 2 Apaches to hover overhead as well. So you'd have 150 trucks with machine guns and all their force protection vehicles and 50 cals and GMGs and a couple of gunships. Because why not? Against a country like Russia, you would never send a 150 vehicle convoy. That is just an absolute fucking wet dream for anybody that's got CAS or artillery or whatever.
You're literally like handing a piece of candy to the Frogfoot pilots.
Exactly. You just wouldn't send that much logistics.
It's the same thing if you're an OPFOR country, except have you seen what fucking A-10 pilots behave like? They're absolute animals.
Yeah, they are a bit mental. Yeah, so but you got to think those combat logistics patrols, that was mostly, you've got things like 150 vehicles that are taking supplies from the shoreline to Camp Bastion in the middle of a desert. They had a long way to travel. They had a lot of stuff to carry. So, that's how it worked out. Okay, so what we are now going to do is we are going to head back to base. We're going to make our way to the main road where it goes along the shore. At which point we're going to obviously follow that main road until we get basically back to a friendly base. We are going to employ all of the contact drills and that you've practiced, and also if you hit an IED strike type things. You may or may not hit these things. I'm not going to tell you whether you will, I'm not going to tell you whether you won't. But if a situation arises, deal with it as you've been taught, as you've been trained, and hopefully we will get the trucks back to base in one piece. Any questions on the plan or anything I've just said, etc., etc.?
So, you drive along, you get a contact. The default is force protection goes after it, and everyone else tries to get the fuck out of there.
Yep. So force protection, i.e. any combat vehicles like Jackals or anything like that, they are the bodyguards. The trucks have to make it back to base. If the Jackal doesn't make it back to base, it's shit, but it's not the end of the world. The trucks in Imagination World are carrying all of the supplies, that we need to get to the base. Yeah.
And if it's an IED, well, if you feel safe going around, go for it. If not,
if there's an IED strike, the convoy stops where it is, and you do your 5s and 20s, which, if you remember, is where you check the immediate vicinity to make sure you can get out the truck without stepping on an IED, and then you check 20 meters around you to make sure your immediate area is safe enough for you to sort of take cover and get away from the vehicles. At which point it's just a matter of all-round defense around wherever the vehicles are, whether it's a built-up area or not. Okay. Yeah. Any other questions?
Yeah. Would the the convoy commander should the convoy commander not be in a defensive vehicle to enter the convoy when defensive vehicle have to protect the convoy and
Right. So
defend the convoy itself.
if you think back to Afghanistan, normally your convoy commander or your officers and things would be traveling in things like mastiffs, where they're a bit more enclosed, rather than a jackal. You would have obviously jackal commanders as well, but your convoy commanders and your packet commanders are usually in slightly more enclosed vehicles for safety and whatever else. Plus the fact it's quite handy because in the back of a mastiff you can have all sorts of comms equipment and shit. Yeah. I don't know if that helps to answer your question. If we were in Chernobyl now and we had, let's say, a jackal and a warrior and a load of trucks, then your commander would possibly either be in the warrior or, yeah, probably in that case maybe the warrior, just because it's the safest and most heavily armored vehicle.
Do you mind if I get a drink for a second?
Yeah. Sorry, go get a drink. Quick.
Yeah. Second thing, when we had the encounter, I give Lena the objective to find a better position or safe enough position without giving exactly where to stop. Is it a good idea?
That's fine. What you're doing there is you're giving your driver an instruction, but you're giving them enough leash to work it out themselves. You'd even do the same in a Challenger 2 or a main battle tank, for example. So if you needed your driver to get somewhere, you would probably just tell your driver, right, get this vehicle to that location. And then your driver will pick the route that is A, the most viable to drive along, B, they might try and find the low ground and the ditches to keep the tank as low ground as possible, stuff like that. But you give the driver enough of a leash and they will find their way. If you need to micromanage a driver, it's usually silly things like, again, using a tank as an example, your commander might say, right, driver, I'm going to tell us to pull forwards and then get the gunner to engage a target and then we're going to pull back. That's when you'd probably micromanage a little bit more. So what you did is exactly fine. Lena, get us into a more viable position or get us into a safe position. Lena will then work out a safe position. Right, she switched on enough to do that. As I hope we all are. Does that answer your question?
Yep.
Cool. While Lena's rehydrating, anybody else got any questions or any points at this time? Cool. When we get back to base as well, we'll do like a little team task. We've covered basic general driving and the distances between vehicles and environments. We've generally covered how different types of vehicles, like support and combat vehicles, will react to a contact, although that is part of the SOP environment. Sometimes your commander might turn around and say, if we get contact, I want everybody to get out and shoot back. Don't know why the fuck you would ever do that, but you never know. So that is SOP dependent. Halting and stopping, you guys know the difference between a halt and a stop, don't you? At least the way we use it.
Halt, we are going to stop.
Yeah, so
Safe. Stop is right fucking now.
Yeah, so the context we use it's not entirely dissimilar to real life, but I've simplified things. So yeah, exactly that. So if I said, right, halt, then I would expect the driver to come off the road if possible.
Back.
The only other thing on that, although this is more relevant to combat vehicles, which we've only got one of, which is why we haven't done it, is if you had, let's say, 4 combat vehicles and the commander said, let's halt, I would expect each vehicle to herringbone. So the lead vehicle comes off on the left-hand side of the road, the second vehicle will come off on the right, and then the left and then the right. So you've got that all-round defense. Obviously, again, if it's viable, if there's a fucking building on the left, then you do what you do. But we don't really do that with the trucks because you're not in a combat vehicle. So why the fuck would you? Yeah. Okay. Right. So I'll let you decide amongst us who's not been the commander yet. Redco and Lovo, I think. You haven't been in charge yet, have you, of the convoy?
I have not.
Okay. Lovo, you are going to be in the command of the convoy.
Okay.
As such, I would suggest you take up a position in the Jackal, but I will leave it entirely up to you. Take whoever you want in the Jackal and put the other 2 people in the trucks. And we are literally going to go from where we are now. As you've seen on the map, we're going to come out of Shakir, head southwest until we get to the main road that goes along the coast, at which point we'll stay on that main road until we come off back into base.
You're basically already marked the map.
Yeah, it's all been marked on the map already. Thank you, thank you, Lena. Sorry, apologies, Lena. Red Code. Did you both do it? No, it was just.
Yeah.
Oh, you both.
No, we did both.
Cool. Good effort.
Combined effort.
And we'll get back into the engineer base. At which point we will park up next to the fuel ammo reclaim and the containers, and we'll restock the vehicles so they're fresh. Happy?
Happy.
Any questions based on what you've got to do, what your instructions are, what the SOPs are?
No.
Cool. Right, convoy's all yours. I'm going to hop in the back of a vehicle again.
Alright, Red Fast when you're on truck duty. Pick one. Then you're driving the Jackal.
Roger. If I see an IED, I'm probably going to shout.
Copy. You know where you're going?
Convoy, better move.
Recall ready to move. Last vehicle ready.
Convoy moving.
Sounds good. I'm keeping my head on a swivel.
Yeah, IEDs like to be hidden with grass as well. They're fucking sneaky as hell.
Some big
Yeah,
Contact left, contact left.
sounds like it's coming.
I'm alive!
Alright, give me security, everyone out, give me security, I need to bandage.
Start doing that.
Nah, I'm not injured, I'm good.
Then hop out.
Gotcha.
You alright there, Lovo?
Getting there.
Yep, so obviously it took you a moment to realise where they were. They were hiding in one of the buildings that time. But it was good that you carried on firing bursts back at them because, believe it or not, that does still have an effect. If the shots go close enough, it does slightly throw their aim, which is probably why you're still alive.
Yeah, I always try and suppress whatever I can.
Yeah.
I'm deaf.
Right, trucks, report status.
Do you want, I've got some spare plugs if you want.
That's alright, I've already.
Right,
Mine are already
truck is
in.
fine.
Just
Yeah,
the
I'm fine.
50 cal going off right above my head is what does it.
Off to near, vehicle fine, all fine.
Okay, man up, prepare to move.
Yep, very good. So we've done our all-round protection. We're happy that we're out the danger zone and everybody's been patched up that needs to be patched up, and we are ready to go.
Convoy, prepare to move.
Recall ready to move.
Also, I'm going to call artillery on that building just because.
Last vehicle ready.
Convoy moving.
If you hear explosions behind you, it's artillery on that building that we're shooting at us. $180! For anybody who's not ever
Miles
watched
on the right side of the road,
darts.
50 meters.
Watch these spacings, ladies and gents. We are very, very bunched up right now.
You're also moving pretty much fucking slow.
Yeah, moving slow is not too bad because obviously you're moving at the speed of the vehicle in front, but adjust your spacings according to the terrain around you. So that was kind of an open-ish space, so yeah, arguably between 50 to 100 metres is probably what I'd do.
You've got to be a good driver, Redcoat. Don't drive to what you want to drive to the conditions of the road and other drivers.
Stop thinking! So obviously for the Jackal guys, you have got the fastest vehicle, so just keep an eye on the convoy behind you as well as what's going on around and in front of you. Same for obviously the people in the trucks. If you're genuinely struggling to keep up, feel free to get on the radio and go, wait. Boop.
Stop. We're out. 5s and 20s.
Alright.
Red code, fast winds, you're now a buddy pair. I want overwatch from this building to the east. Go in slow, watch for IEDs, because we have to change the tyre.
Roger that, you have no idea where this fast wind... Okay, I see it.
Ignore the fact that I'm just kind of floating around, I'm just checking up on everyone. You can thank Redcoat for the fact we found a bomb that doesn't blow you to pieces.
Yeah, it works.
So what's the... is it just this... It's just one...
It's all of the wheels.
Okay, what I'll do is I will fix up 3 of them. So there's only one wheel that needs changing. So...
I'm fixing the front left.
You're fixing the front... left front, okay. Oh god, this is going to be confusing. It's called left front wheel, and then the next one is called the second left front wheel.
Oh, brilliant.
Surely that's just... oh, anyway.
Oh, but who's put a wheel back on where I've just fucking took one off?
Oh god, we've just cloned wheels.
Where's the days?
Cool. Right, so...
Who forgets to turn the engine off now?
one of the guys double tap V to get out quickly. Which, to be fair, if you need to urgently get out, it's not the worst thing to do. Oh yeah, I'll look this way, so I'm pulling protection on the bridge. You hate torque wrenches. What did the torque wrenches ever do to you?
The torque wrench killed my father.
I'm just going to delete that other random wheel. I don't actually know where it came from or why it's there.
I
Or is...
I unloaded the one from the Jackal's inventory, so... That one is slightly less fucked.
Alright, jump in, tell me if it works. Don't move it, just look at the colours on the top left.
Yeah, we'll do.
Okay, well the good news is it didn't completely fuck your fuel tank.
Red code, fast wind, mount up your trucks.
There you go.
Okay.
I'm just going to jump on the back with you guys.
Get back on the turret.
I'm going to jump in the Jackal for a change.
Welcome aboard.
Yep. We're nearly back at base, ladies and gents.
Right, I'm
Keep
ready.
one that shows the most secure place in the Jackal.
You know it.
Oops. Alt tab by mistake. And I'm back.
Convoy, prepare to move.
Ready? Vehicle ready?
I'll be moving.
Right, highway speeds. Oh no, we're approaching a... Call it 60.
Yeah, 60. All right.
Yeah, we missed a turn.
Yep.
Stop, stop,
Fucking-
stop.
No, wrong instruction, but never mind.
Alright, continue following.
Gonna hold it at 40 through here. I pray to fucking whatever deity people believe in that there are no fucking bombs inside the fob.
There won't be.
He says he sets up airburst artillery or something. It's not in the fob.
Even I'm not that mean.
Approaching left.
Convoy, prepare to halt next to the rearm refueling containers.
That sign says 20, so I am going to do 20.
Understood. Right.
There are two sides to these containers, so use both sides. We'll fuel everything up and repair everything.
Right, convoy, halt next to the containers.
And then once everything's refueled, repaired and rearmed, we'll get on with a quick little team task, and then I think we'll call it.
Right, then refuel the arm, please.
Trucks rearm and, well, refuel your own trucks, please.
Fueling.
I think we can only refuel one truck at a time.
That sucks.
Doesn't normally take long. In fact, I think we're full over here.
Yep, pretty much.
Unless you want to go to the other side of the area to refuel, or go to the Arma if they have, they still have. Their
Ah, you see,
fuel.
I knew you needed some headlight fluid.
Did you say headlight fluid?
Yeah, look at it. He's filling a ride up. She's filling a ride up.
Yeah, the right blinker is.
Yeah, blinker fluid. That's it.
I love how out of the way they went to not get copyrighted with these things, because the Hemet in real life is made by a company called Oshkosh, but in game it's called Roscos.
Well,
I appreciate the copyright evasion.
But don't forget, you've got things like instead of Fanta, it's Franta and shit like that. Like,
Spirit.
yeah, Spirit.
The rear spare wheel on the Humvee we used for Redco's missions wasn't Goodyear, it was fuck yeah.
Yeah.
That's the best.
I like that. Only an Altis.
The
Right.
Land Rover became Range Rover.
Yep. So what I want is for any volunteer to take a truck and park it, reference the red and white cones to my west, and I want it so that the back of the truck is just, well, basically I want the truck facing that way to the southwest with the back of the truck just clear of the cones. So basically I want the truck to be here where I'm standing. Just one truck, obviously not both of them.
Where's red code?
Red code's got a different truck.
But you didn't say which truck.
No, you're right, I didn't.
So they want it in between the two cones?
Yep, so line it up with those 2 cones, and then just keep going until the rear end clears it. I'll tell you when you're clear. And stop. Perfect. I say perfect, you are slightly misaligned, so I'm going to... Oh, if you hop back in, I'll give you some instruction quickly. Okay, for the rest of you, so red code, hop in. For the rest of you, just kind of stand here off to one side 1 minute. We're going to do a little bit of a team task, but first I'm going to give red code some instruction. This is going to be very similar to what you guys are going to be doing in a minute. So, big clue, what I'm about to do with red code is a basic version of what I'm going to get you guys to do. Red code, what I want you to do is basically follow my instructions and my words of command. If at any point you're not sure or you don't understand, stop the vehicle and obviously do everything nice and slowly. Understood?
Okay, let's go.
Fantastic. Okay, what I want you to do is come forwards and to your left a little bit. Okay, straight up and slightly to the right. Tiny bit more. Stop. Okay, back up and just do a tiny little bit of left hand down as you start going back. Just a tiny bit. That's it, straighten up. And back, back, back. Crawl back, crawl back, crawl back, crawl back. Tiny bit more. Okay, stop there a sec. Okay, keep coming back a bit until I say stop. Bit more, bit more, bit more, bit more, bit more. Stop. Engine off. Yeah, that's not bad. I'll give myself an 8 out of 10 for that. Okay, everybody on me.
I would say the reverse on that track is a bit... It's like the clutch needs some work.
Yep, that's actually fine. So what you're going to do, you're going to split up into pairs, okay? And you're going to take turns at this. Now, I say get your competitive streak out. There's not going to be a fucking prize if you win, and there's not going to be you getting shit kicked in if you lose. This is kind of learning / bit of fun / see how well you can do it, all right? So, in your pairs, let's say driver 1, driver 2, because, you know, anonymous names are fun. From this point, this is the start point, okay? Driver 1 will get in the vehicle and then will do exactly what the other person tells them to do, exactly as I was just doing with red code. You are to reverse the truck from where it is and park it either between the cones on the right or the cones on the left, okay? They're exactly the same distance, okay? It's just a preference as to whether you want to go left or right. Once you have reversed the truck, make sure that the truck goes all the way through the cones and then stops, okay? And then obviously you want to come to the side and make sure that it's behind the cones. You then bring the truck forwards to back where it is, and then you swap drivers. And then do exactly the same thing again. However, with your second driver, if this truck with driver number 1 went through the cones on the left, when you swap drivers, the second time you have to put through the cones on the right. And then once it's gone through the cones on the right, obviously you bring it back forwards to where it is now. This is also the finish position, and then engine off, at which point you're done. So pair up with whoever you want, although I can probably take a guess who's going to pair up with who. Work out which ones among you want to go first. As I say, if you fuck something up, doesn't matter, just say stop. Okay, you are going to have to use your PRRs, because in real life we use hand signals. In Arma 3, hand signals are fucking janky. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with saying stop. Another couple of clues. Now, obviously I was saying things to red code like, yeah, back up slowly, slightly to the right, slightly to the left. Okay, you are literally just going to have to verbally tell the driver what you want them to do. If at any point you need the vehicle to stop, just say stop, and then have a run around and have a look. And if you need to bring the vehicle forwards a bit because you're slightly out, do that, okay? There's nothing wrong with making adjustments. Also, the cones are supposed to be invincible, but if they do get knocked over, don't worry about it. I'll just replace them. Any questions?
When we return back to this position, do we need to be guided throughout that as well?
No. So guided in reverse, and then as soon as you're happy that your truck has been, in inverted commas, parked, reversed, at that point, whoever's driving it brings it forwards under their own steam, and then gets out, at which point you swap round. So you when you're reversing, you follow the guidance of the person on the ground. When you're driving forwards, you don't need to do that. Just drive it forwards to where it is. Try and get it straight as you can, so it makes it easier for when you swap. Okay? Because if it's wonky, it's going to make life hard for you. Happy?
Yep.
Any other questions? Cool. Which pair wants to go first, or have you even worked at what pairs you want to be in? Bye, Fastwind. I guess you two are up first then. Amongst yourselves, work out who's going first and second.
Well, you're close to the truck, you can drive first.
As I say, try and do it as effectively as you can. Okay, you don't need to race it, you don't need to rush it. And if you get confused, you can always ask me and I'll give you some advice.
Io ho tirato fuori il controller.
Esatto.
Alright, so you
Il
just
problema
want me
con te è
to-
che tu prendi il tuo sinistro come il sinistro che ti diresti se non fossi tu alla guida.
Another quick pointer, just before you go as well. You'll notice that I was mainly standing in front of the truck when I was directing it. The reason being is because if you're stood behind the truck, the driver can't see you, and if you're stood next to it and the driver suddenly spins the driving wheel, they might smack you in the head. So if you do go behind or beside the vehicle, make your intentions clear and get a bit of space between you and the vehicle. Always assume that the driver can't see you if you're not in front of them, all right? Not to put a health and safety spin on it, but yeah, genuine, Laney will just fucking run you over.
I mean, there is a
If I
reason
run
why they are
anybody
called
over,
blind
I'm going to be
spots.
drinking a rat-flavored milkshake.
That's incredibly random. Lover, you can put your rifle on your back if you want as well, if it's easier. Don't make life hard for yourself. Yeah, in your own time.
Enjoy the show.
Ready, alright.
Back slow, please. Right, good, keep going. Lower than that if possible.
If you have to tap it, just rapid fire.
Alright, left hand down. Pull left hand down. Alright, straighten up and continue back. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going.
I'm about to do this in real life with Land Rovers, trucks and tanks.
Right, bring in the right hand down, full right hand down.
It's actually easier with tanks, believe it or not.
Because they can rotate
Yeah,
over
yeah,
on top of
yeah.
the sides.
Yeah.
Almost there, keep going slow.
When you need a tank to rotate on the spot, what you do is you keep yourself
Right, start
in the
bringing it back
driver's field of
slow,
vision,
finesse it a little bit,
and then
see if
literally
it's looking
you just
good,
hold up
going,
whichever fist it is that you want them to
Yeah.
turn towards and walk
Going,
that way around the
going,
tank. And the driver
going,
just rotates and keeps you in front of them.
little bit of,
It is
similar
literally that easy.
Similar to
No,
how it's
stop.
put down
I did it wrong.
for
Right hand
planes
down.
and carriers.
Yep, keep going. And keep going. Straighten up.
But trucks are hard because when you look at the steering
Right.
is the front two
Now left
axles.
hand down, tiny
So
touch.
trucks are actually, in my experience, I've done
Yeah.
trucks, I've done Land Rovers,
Right,
I've done
fast back.
tanks, and I
Keep going,
found
come
the
on.
trucks with
You can go, you
four
can go.
axles like these to be the hardest.
You can go. You can
Because
go.
you have 2 points.
You can go. Stop.
Yeah,
Give me the
the
right
turning
hand
is,
To understand the second point.
yeah,
not the
take
first
it,
one.
you have to think about the turning a lot more.
Straighten up, straighten up. Reverse, reverse, reverse. You good, you good,
Slightly
you good.
used to
Keep
slow.
going, keep going, keep going, keep going.
Not the 2-point turning
Going,
because the
going.
2-point
Stop.
turning is tricky.
You're through.
Not
Yeah, proceed
driving
back to the
reverse
start.
is not really a problem for me.
Right, so
Yeah.
now move it forward then, yeah?
When you have like a trailer behind.
Yeah. Obviously, if you were doing this on the live server, you'd pick a different PRR com just so that you're not chatting over anybody else, potentially.
Preywinder, did you disable damage on the flag spot?
Yes.
Okay.
A bit more forward.
Bit more forward. And a bit more. Same again. One again. Stop.
Alright, and we swap places.
It's very fucking hard to tap this thing in reverse.
Oh yeah, I can see, yeah. So now you got to get me in the left hand set.
The one to your left, to my left, yeah?
Yeah, your left, my right.
Alright, got it. Right,
Same issue.
I'm gonna start going back just a little bit. Keep going.
If you straight up go off of the way straight in reverse, then you can just do
Then take it back.
full steering.
You can use your
So
mouse as
you're
well and drag it left or
You have
right.
to
if you
go
want
after
fine
the
adjustments.
turning point before steering.
I just,
After the after the turning point, you can steer freely, and you can just align the back mirror with the point where you want to go. When you get close to the steering point again, you're going to steer out of the action.
Just one right hand down and then go back just a little bit. Then keep going until I tell you to.
Back or hand down?
Yeah, right hand down.
Once you just say use where you follow, this is just align yourself before getting to the point and just go back. You will get left, right, left. You align yourself at the point.
Right, straighten out. Come back from me a little bit.
Then you can just go towards the point 5 meters distance.
By the way,
5 meters distance. You can just correct the action, and you're going to get able to park it without problem.
I'm watching this in Zeus, by the way, so feel free to run around and...
Oh yeah. As you're going to have this, if you try to get this, check it there with the tempo
Right, then go back just a little bit more. Right, I'm moving around behind you, right?
Avanzavo se ci prendono metà dello spazio.
Right, Lever, bring her back really slowly and give it a little bit left hand down.
Make sure if you're behind him that you're off to the side slightly, just in case he hits the throttle too hard.
Yeah, you're good. Straighten out and then keep coming back. Slightly, yeah, stop. That's a little bit too far. Bring it forward. A little bit more. More, stop. Yeah, we're a little bit crooked, but we're still within the space. We're a little bit crooked, but we're there, we're in the space. So we want to go back to where we started.
He's got to go back through all the way through the cones. Yeah, back all the way through so the truck clears the cones before he comes forward. Keep going, and stop. There you go. Nicely done. Right, now in that case, now you can go back to where you started. Make sure you clear the cones, but not by a country mile, and then engine off.
Am I through?
Yep, you're good. You can engine off and get out. Yeah, the one thing I try and tell people as well is that if they can, what I use to fine steer is I use my mouse, so that when I'm not holding, when I'm not in free look, when I drag my mouse left and right, it does really fine steering.
I think I have some sort of auto free look. Whenever I'm in a vehicle, the mouse free looks.
Yeah, you can double tap Alt to switch it back to mouse steering.
Okay.
Or you can hold down Alt and just have a temporary mouse steering as long as you hold down the Alt key.
Good to know.
Move the truck a tiny bit because it's not quite 100% straight, and that's slightly unfair.
We're all on the spectrum.
Well, yeah, probably.
Okay, give it a primo.
Right. Fast wind, red
I
code.
want lots of Italian shouting throughout the whole thing, right? If I don't hear that, so I'm going to be upset.
Yeah.
Encoding.
Who's that? I guess a shadow.
Tutto? Tutto dietro? Stop.
I love how they're doing this in Italian.
Yep.
I mean, first language, it makes sense.
Yeah, it makes complete sense.
They have not understood the assignment. Oh no, okay, no, it's just the depth perception. I thought they were going between them.
Yeah, the depth perception from this angle is a little shit.
You're more than welcome to walk over there. I'm just watching through the Zeus cam.
No, it's fine.
Who's in the truck? Fast wind.
Red code, I think.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, see, Redcoat's doing the same thing as me. He's doing fine steering.
If I'd figured it out, I would have done one as well.
Yeah, it's alright. If I figure out how to set it up, I'll tell you.
I imagine it's just what Red Code said. I just have to mess with Alt more than I did.
Yeah.
Oh, is it all the way through?
Nope, not yet. I think he may have whacked it as well, but I'll let him off. That's it, he's through. No.
No, did he hit the back wall?
Yeah, he just rammed the concrete wall. Oh my fucking god. Should I give them penalty points?
Is that little thing above the front left wheel, fuel add, is that like the actual fuel level on the thing? What's supposed to be?
Ti ho fatto andare quello più a sinistra mio.
Where are
Behind
Andare
the
quello più
cow.
a destra mio.
Okay.
Oh. No, that's some
Oil or something?
sort of hydraulic fuel. Like hydraulic oil or something. What on earth? He's eaten the cone. I was saying to Red Code and Fastwind, I've had to do this with Land Rovers, I've had to do this with trucks, and I've had to do this with main battle tanks. And I think I personally find that trucks like this with a 4-axle steering on the front is actually the hardest.
Really?
Land Rovers aren't too bad. Tanks are the easiest. Tanks are easy to manoeuvre. They're
I mean, you do get neutral steering.
you've got neutral steering, which helps. But even just general steering, everything when it comes to manoeuvring a Challenger 2 and you've got somebody on the ground.
Oh shit.
Is it these 4 axles though? There's still just pivots on the rear wheels, right? Is that like the mentality is the same as a car or a Land Rover, right? The theory.
That was the jankiest fucking parking. That wasn't parked, it was abandoned.
Remind them that they're driving a truck and not a Fiat Punto.
I mean, they did technically do it faster than you, but good lord, that was interesting. Give me just a sec. So,
Fast wind, how's your spine?
fast code.
Hit
It's
some Gs there.
contagious.
It is, isn't it?
I was saying reverse and it was fucking flooring it.
Yeah, don't do that. So you've probably worked out the key to this is slow. Do everything slowly. If you go too fast, you'll fuck it up.
The main issue with this is that you cannot go slow in reverse.
Yeah, you have to do it in bits. In Arma 3, that's an Armorism, unfortunately.
I was about to try it with a gamepad. Then I realized it has tank controls. And I said, no, thank you.
Basic math has failed me. 54. So 3.
You got 2 programmers here. We can do math.
Right. So I did time how long it took each of you, just out of curiosity. Okay, these aren't bragging rights. Bearing in mind this is the first time we've ever had to do it. There are armorisms, etc. And I'm starting to wish I had invented some sort of penalty point system for things like driving over the cones, and also for not parking the truck very straight either. Fast wind. When that last time it reversed, it was at like a fucking 30-degree angle. If you were parking them in a, I was expecting you. You see the way all the other trucks are parked, nice and straight. Yeah. Obviously, I didn't make that the rule, so I can't penalise you for something that I didn't tell you. But that's kind of what I was angling for.
Honestly, next time you want to do it, instead of using cones, just place trucks.
There's a very good reason I didn't place other vehicles.
Oh, you can just make them invincible, and they should not be able to fly.
Oh, I can make them simple objects. Yeah, yeah, there is that. Yeah, I suppose next time. So for the record, Lovo, with you on the ground and Lena driving was 2 minutes 27. Lena with Lovo on the ground was 3 minutes 50. So your total combined as a pair to park 2 trucks was 6 minutes 17. Redwind and Fast Code. With red code on the ground with Fast Wind driving, it was 2 minutes 18. Not terribly inaccurate. With Fast Wind on the ground and red code driving. Wait, who drove last?
I drove last.
Fast Wind drove last. Okay, I apologise. I got those the wrong way around. So, sorry, that previous time that was with Fast Wind on the ground and red code driving, and then at the end that was with red code on the ground. My apologies, I got them mixed up. Nothing new there. Technically, your time was 1 minute 54. But if I walked into a fob and saw a truck parked like that, I would make you do it again.
Talking about the parking from Fast Wind.
Who parked that truck at the end?
Fast Wind.
Yeah. Yeah. So Fast Wind, if I saw you park a truck, at that angle in a fob, I'd make you do it again. So your combined total was 24 minutes 12. But I think I'm going to call it a draw on the basis that Lena and Lovo were very methodical and very accurate. Fast Wind and Red Code were faster. I let you decide which is best.
Well,
I have OCD, so I know which one I preferred.
Our execution was better just because we are the logistic guys and we need to do shit fast.
Also, we are the engineering,
Anyway.
so we are going to repair them ourselves. So.
But the mate, where's Lena? Where's Lena?
You.
Oh, you're up there. Fucking hell! Don't do that to me. But hopefully you will gain something out of that, and hopefully that was a bit of fun at the end there. It wasn't just me telling you how to do things and you having to try and mainly do it. There was a little bit.
Do little convoys, don't we? So.
Yeah, and these little exercises, these little things like team building exercises, stuff like this. Yeah, it's a little bit of fun, but you'll hopefully get something out of it, even if you don't necessarily realise it.
Honestly, I was expecting parallel parking with trucks.
I was tempted.
That's a bay park. That's not a parallel park.
We don't really do parallel parking in Arma. Bay parking.
Sometimes I did.
Yeah. So, yeah, hopefully that was all right. As far as I'm concerned, I'm pretty happy. I mean, you guys and girls, you're all very switched on people anyway. I had no doubt in my mind that you would find that a piece of piss. Yeah, okay, we started it pretty low on like, okay, let's just drive here and back, but get the basics right. Everything else follows. I have no. So, I think a good point is all of you absolutely nailed everything. You did everything you were supposed to do. You did what you were told. You followed the instructions basically to the letter. Everything just went really well tonight. I think all of you guys are fantastic.
About what I did.
What did you do?
I sent Red Code and Fast Wind for Overwatch at that building, and then just after I did it, I remembered that I know for IEDs we said stop, but then I was like, well, maybe I should have just sent them on if we weren't blocking
You
the road and
you
stuff like
gave
that.
you gave them enough time to do their 5s and 20s before you asked for that order. It wasn't a bad instruction because you were static in the open. I'd have probably done the same thing.
Right.
But it's that thing of you said to everybody do the 5s and 20s, and they did. And then after about 30 seconds, you said, right, now that you've done your 5s and 20s, I want some Overwatch. Fine. I don't see a problem with that. I don't think anybody else does. I think most of us would have probably done the same thing if that was a live environment, because you're all sitting there with your asses hanging out in the wind, waiting for potentially to get a contact after an IED strike. If I was going to be really, really, really nitpicky and think of a bad point, which I am struggling with, possibly... I mean, your comms overall were good as well. I think the only little tiny bit, there was a point where, as we were heading into the town after the second contact, there was a point where I think comms went a little bit silent for about 10 seconds, where I was sort of thinking, is anyone going to say anything? But even then, I don't really have any bad points for tonight.
Honestly, that 10 seconds of silence in comms was basically when the Jekyll was engaged. And
Yeah, I mean, that's the
my
only...
mind went like, okay, I need to fucking drive fast, not get armored, and get to the safety. So
yeah, I don't... Even then, I think everybody knew what was happening, which is why you weren't on the radio. I think the trucks were doing what they needed to do, and the Jackal crew were talking amongst themselves and knew that the trucks were clear and followed. I genuinely... I think everything went fine. You guys are great. Genuinely. Like, take that fucking compliment. I can't think of a bad thing that happened today apart from your parking. So we'll do the usual thing of good point, bad point.
To be honest, what I think needs to be pointed out is that Fastwind doesn't have a driving license IRL, so...
Now he fucking tells me. Right. You're in the wrong core for this shit, young man.
Fuck you. No, wait.
You've been stitched up.
They literally follow every instruction I received.
You're fine.
You've been looking on
you're doing
myself because I don't have the possibility to look back
mate,
behind.
you're doing fine. We will do the round robin of good point, bad point. If you genuinely can't think of a point, just say you can't think of a point. Okay. So we'll go clockwise, as I love going clockwise. Lena, good point, bad point.
Good point. I would definitely say there was a lot of teamwork here because then again, we're like a couple of the ones that are like the most switched on of the group. So yeah. I didn't really expect anything bad to go in the way. Nothing went wrong. Nobody sent a fucking Hemet into orbit. So that's good.
Not for the want of drawing.
Genuinely can't think of a bad point. People did as they're told. We all stuck to the drill, and well, yeah. I mean, the only thing I will say is when, of course, you know, we went silent on comms for like those 10 seconds after the second point, like you said, Preywinder. I think that was just a case of, you know, the Hemet drivers doing what they were told, essentially. Just, you know, get out of fire and then get to safety, and then once they're there, then just wait for the Jackal to come up from behind them.
Yeah, I'd agree. Lovo?
Good point. I think that we did individually when we were given the job to take command. I think it's interesting we all just went and did it. Yeah. There was no like faffing on or anything like that. I think it was good. Bad point again. It's difficult. I don't know if we should have stopped when Lena, you were driving and I was on the gun. We were engaged. We pulled off to get in front of the contact, and I engaged. I don't know. Maybe if we kept a little bit of, like, you know, even just 10 or 20, maybe we would have been harder to hit. I don't know. That's really nitpicking.
The ground dictates, the situation dictates. At the end of the day, your job was to protect the convoy, and you did that fine. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. Maybe next time you'll try that. But just on that point about leadership as well, because I know, as you guys, I've told, especially you four, I know you guys have heard me say about the whole thing of promoting people and then not really giving them any thing from there. It's like, here's some rank, off you go. You're right. You know, I mean, I know Red Code, you're feeling a bit under the weather, which is why I made sure all the other three had a bit of leadership and not as much you, because I know you're just feeling a bit rough and I didn't want to put that pressure on you. But generally speaking, I think you're right. I hopefully think you all feel like you did well as the packet leaders as well, the convoy leaders. Would you all agree that that was positive?
Hmm?
Yeah. And don't think of it as, oh, I was just controlling a convoy. No, you all made good decisions at the right times. Yeah. Fast wind.
Well, there's not a lot to say. Good point. I think we know how to drive.
Thank goodness.
And we can take it under the lap because a lot of people don't know how to drive and park it against other vehicles exploding. The bad point, I would say, maybe with after having done the 520, to if we did know that there were any dangers, imminent danger, we could move the trucks out of the road. At least the trucks.
Yeah, I mean, if you've cleared the immediate area, potentially, yeah, you could then get the trucks off the road. Yeah.
Yeah, if you have at
Follow-up
least
action.
someone that can look around, the other can move out the truck.
And you're right, and you'll notice on the live ops, I do try and make sure there's 2 people in every vehicle if I can. Obviously, it's not always viable. In which case, yeah, get your co-driver to get out and pull protection while the driver gets the vehicle off the road. That way, you're not all in the vehicles making yourselves a target. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. That can be done. We didn't, but doesn't matter.
There was one thing that about the 10 seconds of silence after given information, maybe something that was missing, but because we were right after, so we find literally soon enough where the trucks were. If having information from the convoy to the defensive vehicle where the position of the convoy after parting up. So that the defensive vehicle know where he needs to get.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so
the convoy.
yeah, I get that. Okay, so once the convoy pulls up somewhere safe, make sure everybody knows where they've actually stopped.
But
I guess
so
there's
close that was line of sight.
yeah, I guess there's a bit of an assumption there that ultimately, even if you lose line of sight, the jackal is just going to go down the road that follow the route. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Park up, mark it on the map, or let everyone know what grid reference you're in. Is not a bad idea. Red Code, how about you, mate?
I'll say the positive point. Yeah, as you said, really good execution from everyone. We tackled it like champs. For the bad point, to get back to what we were discussing before, the 10 seconds of silence, I think that mostly it's gonna be like it didn't take long before we actually heard that the shooting was finished. And in all honesty, I won't use the radio distracting who's actually trying to defend our convoy in the moment. But as soon as the shooting ended, like 10 seconds after, the jackal was behind us. So I didn't feel like we need a communication right here. Everyone is doing his job.
So you all seem to pick up on the fact I said about the 10 seconds of silence. That was me desperately trying to find a not good point. Right? Genuinely.
We are all desperately trying to find a bad point.
I mean, the best thing about it is none of you have gone bad point. I thought that was shit and I didn't enjoy it, which I think is great. So I'm hoping that you all enjoyed it at least to a point. I'm hoping that you all took something away from that and either learnt something or maybe refreshed some skills that maybe you already had. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's true. 5s and 20s, I think I remember that from now on.
Yeah. I did stream this, so if at any point you want to go back over what we've done to remind yourselves and see things from like the Zeus camera as well, because obviously I was using Zeus to watch the convoy and stuff. Yeah, obviously it'll be on my YouTube. And share this knowledge. There's only 4 of you here. The next time we do a live op, there might be 8, 10, 12 people. And out of those 12 people, at least 8 of them weren't here today. So just be aware, as I said at the start, the people that haven't done this training that we've just done have never had convoy training, right? So cut them a little bit of slack, but coach them, teach them, share that knowledge, and hopefully we won't have any more hypersonic vehicles coming out of FOB Bravo. Because Fastwind is probably sick of having to chase hypersonic trucks halfway across Chernoris.
To be honest, main issue is that people tend to speed a lot down the roads, especially even when the terrain is rough and really doesn't permit you to go 100 kilometers per hour.
Absolutely. So as you look at the map around here, so when we set out of this base, we kept it slow going out of the base. Once we got to the main road, yeah, pedal to the metal. It's a nice straight, or straightish, open main road. Get to the town, slow down. You're absolutely right. And if you are in a vehicle and you notice that the driver or even the convoy is going a bit quick, call it on the radio and go, guys, slow it down. All right. Spacings as well. If you're driving at 100 kilometers an hour and your vehicles are 10 meters apart, guess what? You know, one IED, you're both dead. Or in the case of an online game, one desync and you're all dead. Yeah. So hopefully,
it takes just one lag spike at the speed.
exactly that. So, okay, admittedly, the 1 to 200 meters is a mitigation. It's not always going to be 100% of the time going to stop that from happening if you're driving at high speeds, but we do what we can and we try and look out for each other. I'm going to hop off Arma now. I'll go on Discord, so obviously, by all means, we'll carry on chatting if you want, but I'm going to bugger off and do my own thing for the next hour before I hit the hay. All right?
Lovely,
Yeah,
thank you, Preywinder.
I'll join you on this.